Now, this next thing, for me, is the most important thing when it comes to hitting, and I believe it to be the most misunderstood. Unfortunately, this is one of the things that wasn't taught to me when I was at a young age. It's not really taught much, at least in our area. And it's something that kids need to learn to understand, and coaches, we need to learn to understand this too so we can help them. And for me, it's called, I call it, getting one-legged or swinging one-legged. This comes in the loading phase that everyone talks about. Get the hands back, and separation. Separation is one of the most misunderstood things in hitting, I believe. And I'd like to explain it to you from my perspective, what I believe, and what works for me. I mean, what works for my hitters. So, understanding weight transfer, understanding separation. When should it happen? Why should it happen? What are the kids trying to feel? And I believe this. I believe that if you can train a kid to be able to feel their entire backside, the hands and the rear hip, fuse up. I like to say one fused unit. I think there's a lot of misconception out there when it comes to creating separation. I hear a lot of hips lead the hands. I just think kids don't respond to that well, even if you might mean it in a good way. You might think you're teaching it the right way. Also, I really don't believe in the heel being the trigger. Yes, the front heel drops and the rear heel goes up. But kids really like to weight that front side, whether it's throwing, whether it's pitching in baseball, or hitting. They're really uncomfortable standing on one leg. And when you watch the greatest hitters there is on this planet today, or people who have the home run records for softball or baseball, or have the batting titles, all of them understood a soft front side. And almost so soft that it doesn't go down until we fire the swing. Here's where the misconception comes, and here's where people are going to think I'm wrong. I am not wrong. Everyone thinks that hitters get into this launch position right here. And I see a lot of teaching kids to get into this launch position and then fire from this position. With both feet on the ground, when I fire from this position, and I do my moves we've talked about up until this point, I try to tilt. I try to get a clean hand pivot. It's really difficult for me to finish up, not swinging up, I'm finishing up. Section 2 showed you why. And it's really easy, especially for kids or young adult athletes, for them to just rotate from this position. And though some don't understand the difference between this and this, I think the better coaches and hitting instructors in the area are going to understand what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that we start our swing with our leg way up here, but there is this feeling that if I can get into this rear-legged loaded position and control the forward move, the fall, right? I like to call it the fall forward. As I'm falling forward, there's a certain piece resisting my fall to give me time, because I'm starting this swing, what I like to call early, slow, and controlled. This is something I say endlessly during games, coaching third, in lessons, at practices. You've got to be able to start these moves early, slow, and controlled. Early means earlier than you can even imagine, uncomfortably early from what you're used to. Most kids don't start to get ready to hit until the ball's in flight. And another term I like to use is ready at release. If you look at any great hitter on the planet, when the pitcher releases the ball, they're already at this position right here, right before my front foot lands, right there, I feel at my most ready to be able to fire off my swing in an instant. And if I'm adding tilt, now it doesn't matter where this ball is, because right there, I can fire to my spot. High and away, down and in. Doesn't matter, right? So, great, Coach Johnny. This makes sense. I got it. One-legged. You're telling me to get my kid to stand up here on one leg like a flamingo and step into the hit. Wrong. We've got to understand the reaching phase. The reaching phase for me is the most important thing. I like to describe it to kids like obviously a bow and arrow or a slingshot, or girls wear hair ties, so they like to shoot their hair ties at each other. So it's a good way to describe it to them. And when you're in full stretch here with the bow and arrow, you don't and then release, right? You don't push the bow and then release. You're in full stretch, you release the bow, bam, it pops. So when I'm here, I don't go push and release. So there's a lot of awesome drills for this that I'm gonna be posting. So keep your eyes out for that, because I believe understanding this and connecting it to number one, and which is the hand pivot, because we've got to fuse these units. So it's not a rocking, this is the motion you see a lot, this rocking back motion. And then they rock into the ball, and from here, I'm weighting my front leg with a lot of weight. When I give my front leg weight, one, I'm slow to react. Two, I'm spinning. And I don't want to spin off the ball because I can't cover the outside corner and I'm in and out of the zone quick. I need to be able to get to this position and start this tilting launch phase from the rear leg linked to the hands, one fused unit, early, slow, controlled. And I can fire so that I'm in the zone early, I'm in the zone long, and I can cover all pitches, anywhere, any speed. And I can even be fooled and still be adjustable. As soon as we get to the front foot, I'm no longer adjustable. I'm also eliminating space. We'll talk about space in a different video. But we've got to learn to create space, especially against high velocity throwers. We don't want to go out to the ball. Everyone says, throw your hands at the ball, be quick. The person's throwing fast already. The ball, we don't want to make contact with the ball way out here. If we do, great, but we don't want to, that's not the goal. The goal is to create space back here and try to create as much depth as we can to give ourselves as much time as we can to be able to hit faster pitching, more elite pitching, which is the goal, coaches. The goal is to get them to hit elite pitching. The goal is to get them to the next level. If they're paying $100 per lesson, you're doing them a disservice if they can only hit home runs or only hit well off of the sloppy teams or the sloppy pitching. Please start to learn this, start to study this. I promise you. I'm 32 years old and I'm washed up. I played with college kids this year and I was absolutely tearing the cover off the ball and it felt effortless. I promise you, this concept works. And also, it's the most important thing because it teaches them timing, and timing is a word I never hear coaches or hitting instructors say enough. You can get into these absolutes and have this swing that looks so good in a slow-mo, but then when you watch them at full speed, it takes them forever to get their swing off, and then anytime they get into a game, they don't know when to get ready. For me, this one-leggedness is maximum readiness, and I literally can't get any more ready than I am from that position. Learn that position, learn the hand pivot, learn how to tilt to all locations. Your game's gonna go to the next level, I can promise you that. And you're not gonna hit pop-ups, and you're not gonna strike out more. And the people that are telling you, stop doing launch angle, or you're swinging up, don't know what they're talking about. Everybody finishes up. That's an elite hitter on the face of this earth. Learn to hit like the best. If you hear them saying to you, oh, so you think my kid's as good as Mike Trout or Aaron Judge, or you're going to compare my 13-year-old to Aaron Judge? Hell yeah, I am, because I want them to be the best that they can be. I'm not saying that they're Aaron Judge, but I'm saying if Aaron Judge does it the way he does it, or Barry Bonds, or Jocelyn Alo, or Sidney Ramiro, or anybody that's a good hitter, an elite hitter, learn from them, model after them. Create your game to fit their style, mix with yours, and you will have the most success.